for the sign of the court, part 6. In the first paragraph, the writer has explained the costume of Mary Martin, and she entered from the room with the beautiful dress. The dress was a perfect dress of, and the plainness of simplicity is explained in her dress. The costume with a bow of suggestion is there in her costume, but that was untrimmed and unbarred, dull hue, and revealed only the suspicion of white feather in her sight. आता पॅराग्राफ नंबर 1 जो आहे, या पॅराग्राफ नंबर 1 मध्ये मेरी मार्टनचं जे वर्णन आहे, हे मेरी मार्टनचं वर्णन केलेलं आहे. जेव्हा ती आपल्या रूम मधून, आपल्या खोलीमधून बाहेर पडते, तेव्हा एका वेगळ्या आविर्भावामध्ये बाहेर पडते. तिनं परिधान केलेला जो पेहराव आहे, हा पेहराव प्रामुख्याने सॉबर असा आहे, सर्वांना मान्य होईल असा लाईट कलरचा पेहराव मेरी मार्टन हिनं परिधान केलाय. आणि परिधान केलेला पेहराव जो आहे, अत्यंत परफेक्ट असा पेहराव तिनं परिधान केला. त्यामध्ये एक साधेपणा, सिम्प्लिसिटीचं वर्णन लेखकानं मेरी मार्टनच्या पेहरावाविषयी केलेलं आहे. आणि गायरिश कलर आहे, परंतु त्याच्या वतीने डोक्यावरती एक टर्बन परिधान केलं, एक पटका, एक फेटा डोक्यावरती परिधान केलेला आहे. आणि त्याचा कलर सुद्धा कसा सॉफ्ट आहे असं सांगितलेलं आहे. अशा प्रकारे त्याच्या साईडला तिने एक छोटंसं पीस खोलेलं आहे, म्हणजे त्याला हेडगिअर असं या ठिकाणी म्हटलेलं आहे. नेक्स्ट पॅराग्राफ. हर फेस हॅड neither regularity of the feather nor beauty of complexion, but her expression was sweet and amiable, and her large blue eyes were singularly spiritual and sympathetic. In experience of a woman which extend over many nations and 3 separate continents, I have never looked upon a face which gave the clearer promise and refined the sensitive nature. I could not but observe that was she took a seat which Sherlock Holmes placed for her. Her lip trembled, her hand quivered, and showed every sign of intense inward agitation. In the second paragraph, the writer has explained one more explanation related with the beauty of the Mary Martin. Mary Martin face had neither regularity nor the feather of her beautiful complexion is explained in the second paragraph. That her nature was totally amiable, lovable nature is explained, sympathetic, lovable, and the experience of an extent of many nations. She never looked upon the face. She never looked upon the face which gives a clear promise, and refined and sensitive nature of Mary Martin is also explained here. But she had sat on the same chair. That chair was made for her by Sherlock Holmes, and she had a seat. That every sign of intense inward in agitation. आता उतार नंबर 2 आहे. उतार नंबर 2 मध्ये थोडंसं ब्युटीचं वर्णन, सौंदर्याचं वर्णन या ठिकाणी लेखकाने केलं. त्या ठिकाणी म्हणतोय की तिच्या रेग्युलॅरिटी जी आहे ती कशी आहे, विथ नॉट अ ब्युटी नॉट अ कॉम्प्लेक्शन. मग वर्णन रंगाचं असेल किंवा तिच्या सौंदर्याचं असेल तर त्या ठिकाणी रेग्युलॅरिटी आहे असं काय नाही, परंतु तिचा जो चेहरेपट्टी जी खूप सुंदर आहे, पण त्या चेहऱ्यावरती प्रामुख्याने स्पिरिच्युअल आणि म्हणजेच आध्यात्मिक आणि शांत असे भाव तिच्या चेहऱ्यावरती आहेत असं लेखकानं म्हटलेलं आहे. आणि तेच प्रामुख्यानं क्लिअर प्रॉमिस केल्यासारखं सेन्सिटिव्ह, संवेदनाक्षम चेहरा आहे असं लेखकाने या ठिकाणी वर्णन केलेलं आहे. परंतु तिचे ओढ जे आहे ते थरथरू लागलेले आहेत, कारण तिला बसण्यासाठी त्या ठिकाणी आसन शेरलॉक होम्स न ठेवलेले आहे. त्या आसनावरती ती विराजमान होते आणि तिच्या प्रत्येक हालचालीमधून इंटेन्स एजिटेशन आपणाला वाचकाला जाणवत आहे. नेक्स्ट पॅराग्राफ. आय हॅव कम टू यू मिस्टर होम्स, she said, because you once enabled my employer, Mr. Cecil Forster, and unraveled a little domestic complication. She was much impressed by the kindness and skill. Mr. Cecil Forster, he repeated thoughtfully, I believe that I was some slight service offer. The case, however, I remember it was a very simple one. Simple one, she did not think so. But at least you cannot say the same of mine. I can hardly imagine anything more strange, more utterly inexplicable than the situation in which I find myself. She told to Mr. Holmes, I have come to meet you because you have once enabled my employer, that is David Cecil Forster. So I feel proud that your technique you used for for my servant. So I believe that some of the slide service for her. The case I remember was very simple one. Mr. Case you handle is very simple, but I did not think so. At least you cannot say. I can hardly I can hardly imagine anything more strange, technique that more utterly inexplicable technique you have used. So I feel proud of about your skill. ते म्हणते मिस्टर होम्स आम्ही तुम्हाला भेटायला आले याचा अर्थ असा आहे की तुम्ही माझं सर्वंट आहे सिसिल फोस्टर याला कशा प्रकारे हाताळ हे जे टेक्निकल हाताळण्यासाठी तुम्ही वापरलेले आहे ते खरोखरच कौतुकास्पद आहे. आणि त्या कौतुकास्पद टेक्निकबद्दल मला खूप अभिमान वाटला की जे टेक्निक तुम्ही वापरता ती त्याचे शब्दामध्ये वर्णन करणं मला आवड आहे असं ती म्हणते. आणि अशा प्रकारे ती सांगते, मला खरोखरच त्याविषयी खूप अभिमान वाटतो. नेक्स्ट पॅरेग्राफ. Holmes rubbed his hand and his eyes glistened. He leaned forward in the chair with an expression of extraordinary concentration upon his clear-cut, hard-like feature. State your case, said he in brisk business once. Holmes rubbed his hands, and his eyes were glistening. There was shining. There was shining in the eyes of Mr. Holmes, and that he leaned forward. But the expression of external concentration was there in his eyes, and there was clear-cut, hawk-like features. So state your case. That's explanation given by him, and said brisk business tones. आता मिस्टर होम्स आपले डोळे चोळतोय, परंतु डोळे चोळतोय तिच्या डोळ्यामध्ये मिस्टर होम्स आहे. मिस्टर होम्सच्या डोळ्यामध्ये एक प्रकारची जी लखाकी आहे, एक प्रकारचं तेज आहे. ते तेज या ठिकाणी काय केलेलं आहे, स्पष्ट केलेलं आहे. आणि ते तेज कसं आहे, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन असल्यासारखं आहे. एकाग्र चित्त ज्या माणसाचं असतं आणि एकाग्र चित्त असणाऱ्या माणसाच्या डोळ्यामध्ये एक वेगळ्या प्रकारचे शायनिंग, एक वेगळ्या प्रकारची लकब जी आहे, तशी लकब मिस्टर होम्सच्या डोळ्यामध्ये दिसून आलेली आहे. आय फेल्ट दॅट माय पोझिशन वॉज अन एम्ब्रेसिंग वन. यू विल, I am sure, excuse me, I said, rising from my chair. The position was embarrassing. The position of Mr. Holmes was embarrassing, and we can sure that it excuse me. And I said, rising from my chair. आता मिस्टर होम्स आहे, मिस्टर होम्स याची पोझिशन कशी एम्ब्रेसिंग आहे, थोडी खेदजनक वाटते, परंतु त्याच्यामध्ये काहीतरी अर्थ आहे असं सांगितलेलं आहे. To my surprise, the young lady held up her gloved hand to detain me. If you were afraid, she said, you would be good enough to stop. I might be a inestimable service to me. I replaced into my chair. As a surprise, the lady had touched the hand of Mr. Holmes and said to him, "Your friend, I would be the good enough stop to might be inestimable service to me. I replaced in my chair." आता इथं काय सांगितलं, आश्चर्याची बाब आहे. सुंदर तरुणी आहे, बरी मार्टनी सुंदर तरुणी आहे. पण तिने ज्या वेळेला मिस्टर होम्सच्या हाताला स्पर्श केला म्हणजे पकडलं, त्यावेळी एक वेगळ्या प्रकारचे सेन्सेशन्स तयार झाल्या. ही तर या ठिकाणी पॅरेग्राफमध्ये सांगितले आहे. ती म्हणते वुड बी एनफ टू स्टॉप. इथं आता थांबण्याचीच वेळ आहे असं तो त्या ठिकाणी काय करतोय, स्पष्टीकरण करतोय. आणि ते स्पष्टीकरण प्रामुख्यानं लेडी मार्टनच्या शब्दामध्ये केलेलं आहे. आणि म्हणून ही सर्व्हिस रिप्लेस इन टू माय चेअर. आणि मग परस्परामध्ये काय करतात, पुरुषांच्या मध्ये बदल होतो. ब्रीफली सी कंटिन्यूड, द फॅक्ट आर दिस. माय फादर वॉज अन ऑफिसर an Indian regiment who sent me home when I was quite a child. My mother was a dead and I had to relative in England, and I was placed, however, in a comfortable boarding establishment, Edinburgh, and there I remained until I was 17 years of age. In the year of 1878, my father, who was senior captain of the regiment, obtained 12 months' leave and come home. In the next paragraph, she has explained her experiences. Her father was her father was officer in an Indian regiment, and that officer from army department are not taking care of their family because they are always engaged in a duty. So her father had not the time to take care of his daughter. So he had admitted his daughter in the boarding of Edinburgh. At that time, her mother was dead. Her mother was dead, so she was replaced in the boarding of the Edinburgh. But up to this stage, she was 17 years old. Continuously, she was living in the boarding, and in the year of the 1878, her father was senior captain in Indian regiment, and he had brought his daughter to England. 12 months leave come here. He telegrammed to me from London. He had arrived all safe and directed me to come down to at once, giving at the Langton Hotel as his address. His message, I remember, was full of kindness and love. On reaching London, I drove at the Langham, and I was informed that Captain Marston was staying there, but that he had gone out of the night before and had not yet returned. I waited all the day without news of him. That night was on the advice of the manager of the hotel, and I was communicated with the police the next morning, and we advertised in all the paper. Our inquiries had to no result. From that day there was no word to ever been heard. My unfortunate father had come home with a heart full of hope to find some peace, some comfort. Instead, she put her hand to her throat and, choking a sob, cut short of the sentence. He had taken the 12 months leave, and he had come to London. He had come to London for the leave because he wanted to meet his daughter. But the final planning was successful. When he came there, at that time there was being late. So Mary Martin had made an inquiry of his arrival to his friends. They told him that definitely he will come. The hotel manager told to her he will come after communication. But so then he communicated with the police. The morning advertised the paper. When the father had come to London, he had decided to meet his daughter. That father was called as unfortunate father in the same paragraph, and she found some more peace and comfort, and she put her hand on her throat and choking the sob, shortcut sentence. आता यामध्ये शेवटच्या पॅरामध्ये काय सांगितलं, भाषांतरामध्ये काय सांगितले की लेखकाने सांगितलेलं आहे की मेरी मार्टनचे वडील परत 12 महिन्याच्या रजेवरती त्या ठिकाणी येतात, आणि 12 महिन्याच्या रजेवरती ते आपल्या मुलीला भेटायला येतात. मग थोडासा वेळ होतो. वेळ झाल्यानंतर मग ते परत पोलीस ऑफिसरकडे चौकशी करतात, परत त्यांच्या मित्रांनी चौकशी करतात, ते येत आहेत आणि ते आलेले आहेत असं या ठिकाणी सांगितलेलं आहे. आणि मग थोड्या वेळानं काय होतं, त्यांची भेट होते. मग त्यांचे गळा आनंदाने चाटते, म्हणजे एकमेकांची असणारं प्रेम जे आहे, प्रेम असणारं व्यक्त करते. अशा प्रकारे 4.4 द साइन ऑफ 4 पार्ट 6 येथे संपतो. थँक्यू.